Welcome to People First Builders, celebrating leaders in construction who build success through their people. My name is Fletcher Wimbush, your host. I'm the CEO of Discover.ai, a performance hiring software helping small and mid-sized AEC companies solve their hardest problem, people. We help people first leaders install and execute repeatable talent acquisition systems that drive business results by hiring top performers, lowering turnover, and building world-class company cultures. Stick around to the end and you can learn more about how to become a guest on our podcast and share your story with the world. Welcome to the People First Builders podcast. My name is Fletcher Wimbush. I'm your host. And today I have Sam Rockaway. I'm really excited to chat with you, Sam. Thank you for being here.
Likewise. Thanks for having me. Very excited.
So right in the debrief here, we talked a little bit about how you were brought on, like 13, 14 years ago to Redcom, and immediately your owner moved to Italy. And I want to talk a lot about that. In the meantime, you've been a B2B sales leader in this design build construction space, and you've got a lot of great innovative solutions or strategies that you've been able to use to grow this business and just really be a leader in driving revenue for construction industries. How did you end up at Redcom, and how's this developed for you?
It's interesting. So I was introduced to Greg Reddington, who is the owner of Redcom, about 18 years ago. Through a mutual connector. I call connectors, people connectors who can introduce you to other people where you can generally get business from. Yeah. So through a mutual connector that he knew and I knew, a BMW dealership was a client of mine at the time, and Redcom designs and builds one of the asset class that we work in is dealerships. Awesome. So at the time, Greg was trying to win a bid for a BMW store that was a fairly like maybe a $4 or $5 million project, and that person introduced Greg and I together to see if I can help him get his foot in the door. And during that meeting, he asked me if I wanted to come be his head of sales.
Nice.
And I was like, I didn't know anything about construction. I said to myself, this guy's crazy. I'll put the company out of business. I don't know about construction. 4 years later, I said yes to Greg. We kept in touch, and I said yes, and it's been great. Haven't looked back since. And then after about a year of working with Greg, sharing an office with your boss, which is pretty intense guy, he decided to move to Italy with his family, which I knew coming into it.
You're like, good riddance. No.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
It's okay. No, he's been a great guy to me.
Yeah. Well, obviously you guys built a relationship, and you know what? Actually, that's a really great story. So you guys met, you were just sharing some ideas with him, right?
Yeah.
Like just giving it forward, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And he saw that. And when you have that authentic relationship where you're, consultative and you're just sharing ideas or just genuinely trying to help, well, the next thing you know, that person really likes you, and of course they want to hire you, but also wants to buy from you too, probably, right?
Yes. You're right. So relationships are key, and I am a big believer in giving back and trying to give somebody something before I ask for something back. Maybe I don't even ask for something back. I've always treated all my clients like that. But when you sell what I sell, my average sale is about $8 million, and it could go up to 40 million. You can't sell somebody something for that much. You need to provide them with a solution. Mm-hmm. And the solution has to fit their business needs, and it has to pencil from a financial standpoint. There's a whole team of people involved. Yeah. So it's a very complex, long, drawn out process, but it works.
And that's true, I think, in any sales process, particularly true in construction though, right? So you have to add value up front in the relationship, build trust, and then ultimately at some point we'll sign a contract and do this deal. One of the things, though, your story is really, really interesting, and I always want to highlight it because, again, I'm all about kind of talent acquisition and growth through people, but you are the poster child of that, right? So the owner, what was his name again?
Greg Reddington.
Greg. So you and Greg hit it off, right? And did he like reach out to you regularly over those 4 years that you guys began to build some sort of relationship then, I assume?
Yeah, but he never reached out to me. I always reached out to him. Okay. And I understand why.
Yeah.
now that I've worked for him for all these years. So if anybody from a sales standpoint calls Greg, he doesn't call him back. He wants
Yeah.
to see how they are. Will they
Yeah.
call up? Yeah. So I called him consistently. And
Yeah.
really, hey, Greg, do you want to come fishing with us? I was trying to get to know him.
Yeah.
And that was enough to make his ears perk up to realize that I did follow up and I did the right thing and I sent him
Yeah.
cards and so
Yeah.
forth.
And that's exactly, if you're trying to hire a key level person in your organization, that's the same strategy you use to build a talent bench.
Yeah.
Once a quarter, every couple, 6 months, you reach out. Hey, how's the kids? How's the dog? Hey, you want to come fishing with me, right? Or do this,
Whatever it is.
whatever that mutual thing, like let's go bowling. I don't know, whatever the two of you have in common, right? And that's that little nurture process, and that's what talent acquisition experts call building a talent bench. And it's the same thing you do in sales when it comes to building a bench of potential new deals, I assume, right?
Right. Now I'm actually I still take people fishing. I generally rent out I don't know, a 50-foot boat and take 15, 20 people fishing. It's not people I'm looking to hire, but attorneys and people that I do business with that are associates that are involved in my deal, just to get to know them better and have fun for a change and not really talk about a deal, but just talk about what we're doing.
Yeah. So it's either potential influencers or potential customers that you're going to build a relationship and a network with. And that's, I would assume, a pretty highly curated group of people, I would assume, if you're going to take the time to do that. But you're building trust, you're building relationships that ultimately manifests into opportunities, I would assume.
Correct. Yeah.
And so I always say that's, talent acquisition and sales and marketing are identical. They're just aimed at a different end result, right? Capturing a very coveted, hard to fill or hard to find or talented person, that 1% of the talent pool. And it goes the same way when you're dealing on the sales side. How has the business grown since you've been involved? Tell us a little bit about that and what you guys do or specialize in. You guys have a few different verticals, I think, right?
Right. Yeah. So the business, when I came here, we were probably doing in the neighborhood of 20 to $25 million a year in sales. And we probably had about the same number of employees, maybe in the 20s. I don't remember. It was a while ago. And now we're at 60 to 70 million and we have 50 employees. And that wasn't because I'm such a great salesman. I mean, sure, that's a part of it. But when I first came here, I had a great team. I still have a great team. I had 4 guys. I had my head architect, who I didn't know, I just met, my head of construction, my head estimator, and my head engineer. So we take projects from concept to completion. We have in-house engineers, architects that get all the entitlements, design the building, and build it. Yeah. Right. So those 4 guys made it so easy for me because I did not have construction experience, but I knew how to open doors and I knew how to communicate with people. So all I really did was open a door and say, hey, John, this guy wants to build a 100,000 square foot building. What do we do? And they would essentially teach me and show me what to do, but they were motivated and they really allowed me to flourish.
Yeah. And you could pull them in and use them as you again, being a connector there, right? Saying, oh, you want to build a big old building. I've got 4 people who are really smart and maybe I should introduce you to them. You think you might get some value of sitting down and having a chat with them. And that's one big step in the right direction. So over the years, I mean, that's, huge growth, and your dollars per employee is, can't do the math that quickly, but as you can tell right away. I mean, you're at 20 employees, 20 million, $1 million per employee. Now you're at somewhere like 2 million, almost like closer to 2 million or 1.5 million per employee. So those ratios are really gone up. I imagine with growth like that, I mean, at some point you reach some inflection points, right? The teams becomes tapped out, and one of the bigger challenges in the construction industry is people, finding good people, developing good people. Were there any inflection points that you guys, stumbled across and, maybe recall some of those experiences?
Yeah, there was a lot of challenges to get to where we are today. In fact, we opened another office out in Long Island. We're located in Central Jersey, about 10 miles as the crow flies from New York City, and then Long Island is, a 40-mile trip out there, but it's a 2-hour car ride. Yeah. So, and then we got up to 85 employees and much more revenue. But that was a huge inflection when it was very challenging to manage and to run all over the tri-state area and try to put deals together. So we all said, you know what? We live in a state with 9 million people. If we can't make it happen here, we should think about a different business.
Yeah.
So we just pulled back and, and just stay right here in New Jersey.
Yeah. So that's that
was-
idea of focusing or niching down and just spreading throughout your niche. And in that case, in your case, it's a geographic niche, this market that you're in, which had plenty of opportunity. Why spread yourself thin by, going through Manhattan to do more business or something?
You don't really serve the customer. It's really, at the end of the day, without a customer, nobody has anything. And you don't really serve the customer as good as they deserve if you're 3 hours away, because they're going to call you up with an issue on their building, and sometimes it's an emergency.
Yeah. And then you're handicapped in your ability to be able to go and
Yes.
address that issue. So when you're growing that fast, you're adding that many people, what kinds of challenges did you face there, and how did you guys deal with those, and any hacks or strategies that you guys use to improve the quality of hire, or to allow yourself to scale? Because when you're scaling an organization of people, everything breaks at some point, I assume.
Well, we hired some coaches to help us through those times. We hired some coaches, maybe like 4 coaches, 5 coaches at the same time.
Oh, wow. Like different coaches? Were they all
It was
associated?
through one organization, but a bunch of people came and helped different departments. We had help engineering, architecture. We really didn't have a process. We had no process here. So I went from, just taking leads on my notepad to putting them on a whiteboard, to putting them into Excel, and putting them into Salesforce.
Yeah.
So it got from 2 leads to, 100 leads pretty quick. And we documented a process. So I work with engineers. So we came up with we cultivated and documented a sales process. And I still use it today, and I still update it. And when I hire someone new, I walk them through the sales process. So we did that. We decided how many free hours of work we're going to give by department. Architecture will give 8 hours of work. Engineering will give 8 hours of work. So we came up with some metrics, some KPIs. We implemented all of that, and then just monitored it and adjusted along the way.
I like how you guys got specialists, consultants or coaches for each department, because growing at that breakneck speed, maybe one coach doesn't have enough of the right tools in their toolbox to service the entire organization, right? But every leader needs a coach ultimately, right?
Yeah, and then there's different personalities. Like engineers and architects and salespeople are not torn from the same cloth.
Yeah.
So everyone needs a little bit of a different personality from a coach standpoint.
Yeah. Anything that you guys implemented to help you make better hiring decisions, or capture higher quality talent that you felt was particularly successful?
Yeah. Well, during that process, when we had coaches here too, we also developed a tagline and our values, our core values, and we have a really fantastic culture here. We have, I think I'm one of the oldest people, if not the oldest person in the firm, and I'm not old, but when I first started here, everyone was in their 20s and 30s.
Oh,
wow. So the culture is really amazing, and the building looks beautiful. So everyone's excited to be here. And we include culture into our interview. We do DISC assessments. We want to make sure that the people fit in well with us. And we also have them interview with a number of people here.
Yeah. How do you assess for culture typically now?
There's a list of questions that HR walks through with the people, and then we all meet them and come together and share our opinions on how they're going to be.
So awesome. So yeah, I think that's always a big turning point for organizations once they start hiring for culture fits, and they're getting really clear about what their culture is. First of all, every organization has one, whether they can define it or explain it or talk about it. That's one thing, right? And then once you can do that, then you can begin to evaluate for it, because now it's something that is more tangible, not just this is the vibe we get around here, right?
It took a while for us to identify, even though we were living it and breathing it, we didn't really understand our culture either. And it took a while for all of us to come up with the culture and the core values and, our tagline.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that process that you went through to clearly define it, right? Because yeah, that exact experience of like, we're in it, we feel it, but we know that it's there, but we're not sure what it is or how to explain it, right?
Right. Yeah, we hired a company to help us, a marketing company. I don't remember if it was a marketing company or someone else, but they did a fantastic job helping us
Yeah.
identify keywords and taglines and and it worked.
Yeah. So you're using culture to uh, understanding what your culture is, and then you're using that to help evaluate candidates. Are you using that any other way in the hiring process?
No, I think that's mainly how we use it.
Okay,
Yeah, I
great.
think that's mainly how we use it.
How have you guys gone about attracting the best people?
So we've changed, we've offered some flex days. You know, we have a pretty good benefits package here.
Yeah.
We're competitively, our pay is competitive. So the salaries and there's opportunities to earn, you know, bonuses and so forth here. And then we also have a policy called a flex day policy. So people, as long as they're getting their work done,
Mhm.
and they can take a day off a week.
Oh, wow. So
They have
almost
the
like a 4-day work week, but it's sort of a flex, like, maybe
they have the
sometimes they take
flexible.
it, sometimes they
Yes.
don't kind of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
How's your workload? Everything's getting done. Great. Take the day off. Just be available in case someone needs has a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
That's
Be on call, or
yeah,
something.
that and we're pretty flexible with sick days, and if they don't use their sick days, they can accrue them. If they don't use their vacation days, they get paid for them. So we try to make it easy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all employees are allowed to attend their kids' PTAs or Halloween thing. You know, anything with kids they can go and do.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's not a lot of grief for like, oh, I got a parent teacher conference, or my kid's got a baseball game. It's at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a little early. I got to cut out, right, or whatever.
Right.
So all those little things make a big difference. I love the flex day thing. We literally were talking about that in our team meeting today. One of our partners is a 4-day work week company, and we're like,
Right.
wow, someday we really want to get to that. And so one of the suggestions was a flex day. So if you're all good, then you're on track on all your goals and your metrics and your OKRs and your KPIs. Then yeah, go ahead, just do whatever you want.
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. So in order to do that, I think you have to get pretty clear about your OKRs and KPIs in order to be able to manage a program like that, to make it like fair and equitable, and that there's no ambiguity about whether or not you're entitled to be to take that flex day, right?
Right. Yep. Yep. It's each department manager has the authority to decide if someone can or can't take a flex day
Yeah.
in that department.
But I would assume that's pretty based on some measurable outcomes that you guys
Yeah.
are.
Yes. Yes. Each department has their own KPIs and measurable output.
Yep. And those can be difficult enough to identify, I would imagine. But the effect on people is they're become hopefully self-managing. I can determine whether or not I'm on track or not, right?
Yeah, you need leaders. We look for leaders too. You don't you can't you got to look for leaders that just have their own initiative. They're not really, once they understand their job, that they just take the initiative and get it done, because it's not about punching in and punching out. It's about delivering something and getting something done.
Yeah, solving a problem for the customer, whether that's an internal or external customer, right? So
Yes.
you're either doing that successfully or you're not, and if you're not, then maybe got to grind it out or pick up the pace or figure out, a better way of doing it then, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. If you were, advising a leader in another construction company, what would be kind of the biggest experience or takeaway or piece of advice that you would offer in all the years experience that you've had in growing this business, and what's kind of your favorite like business hack that you've taken away?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So there's 4 different departments here. I would say understand your overhead, your indirect and direct costs. I have a background in finance, so that's why I would say that. But in this industry, it's very important to understand that. So I would say understand that, and documenting your sales process is another key task that should be done. And then understanding also, like, someone just called me up for a project and said, hey, you want to bid this project? We don't always say yes.
Yeah.
So learning to say no to clients is okay. Prospects, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
prospects because, you only have so many people here. And if we take the jobs that aren't right for us, we're not going to be able to take the jobs that are right for us.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that story of trying to expand out to Long Island and realizing, hey, that kind of stretched us in a way that isn't really allowing us to be the best at what we are, right? Kind of idea. I love that. Who's your customer and how can we get a hold of you? What's the best way to get in contact with you?
So the best way to get in contact with me would be through LinkedIn,
Okay.
right? You could go to LinkedIn or my Redcom, the Redcom website also has I believe my email. But LinkedIn's a great place. And then, I'm sorry, what was the other?
Yeah. Who is your ideal customer? And, if somebody's interested in working with your firm, like who would be that right fit for you guys?
So we went through it. Who is our ideal customer exercise about 8 years ago. And it turns out it's mostly men. We do have women customers too, but because we work in the automotive industry a lot, they're primarily men own the car dealerships and 30% female owned. So it's probably a 55-year-old person that is an entrepreneur that has multiple locations and that is just really busy with their own business because we could take whatever they want to do, whatever their dreams are, and we could build for them. So we could get their sites approved, we can get them designed, and we can get them built, all while they still maintain their own business.
So take on that full design build off their plate and make their vision come to life. Awesome. Well, Sam, I'm going to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is in all of the content that we share there. So if somebody wants to connect to listening to this or watching a short, reading an article about this, they'll be able to get in contact with you. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for listening to our People First Builders podcast. If you're a successful construction CEO and would like to tell your story on this program, please visit our podcast homepage, FletcherWimbush.com/peoplefirstbuilders, or check it out in the notes below. If you got something out of this interview and would like to share the episode on socials, we always appreciate that. Just take a quick screenshot with your phone, text it to a friend, or post it to the socials. If you know someone who might be a great guest, tag them on social and let them know. And don't forget, #PeopleFirstBuilders. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We're regularly putting out new content. To make sure that you don't miss out on any episodes, go ahead and hit subscribe on your favorite podcast channel. Your thumbs up and ratings and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our website, FletcherWimbush.com, or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.